as we go, so that you have it, or you can wait, watch the video, and go ahead and do it. So let's go ahead and install Git. Now you can install Git in Windows, right? You can install Git in Windows, and that's what we're going to do right now. If you go to this website, let me put it on, those that wants to do it right now, let me put it on the chat so you can pull the link from the chat. Go to that website. This is a website right here, right? Now you can download your Git. Now click on download. Now once you click on download, sorry about that. Once you click on download, you can just open the file. And I already have it, so I'll click on yes. I already have one running, so let me see if I can start the one. Right. Once you download it, you should get into your where all your files, all your programs are listed. And this is exactly, it will come up like this. You have something like this. This is Git Bash, right? So what you're downloading is Git Bash, and it will look like this exactly. This is Git Bash. Git Bash is just like your mobile extent, right? Is your mobile extent. You can use this to SSH into your cloud as well, right? But we're going to use it mainly. You can run all the bash commands that we ran in the Linux operating system, right? So you can take all that as well. So we're going to use Git Bash to run all our files. So has anyone downloaded Git? If you want to download it now, you can go ahead and download it.
It's asking a question.
What's the question?
It says the radio button one, the first one is use Git and Git Bash only. Then the second one, Git from the command line and also from third-party software. And the third one, use Git and optional Unix tools from the command prompt.
Yeah, use the first option is which one? So the first option is?
Use Git from Git Bash only.
From Git Bash only. Okay. Yeah, select that one. I think that's the one that you need. Let me try and see if I can download this one. Let me make sure.
But the radio button by default is on Git from the command line and also from third-party software.
Third-party system. Let's assign. All right, choose that one because we're going to use the command line.
Okay.
Get from the command line and also from third-party software. Yeah, select that one.
Okay. The next one, use bundle open SSH.
Yes, use that one. The other one is the new one that just came out. The external open SSH. Use the bundle open SSH.
So use the open SSL library.
Yes.
Check out Windows style command commit Unix style line ending.
This is that one, yes.
Use min TTY.
Yes, use that one too. That's the default.
Okay,
right?
Default. Okay. Yeah. Git credential manager.
Enable file system caching.
Okay.
Yes. Enable experimental support, and both of them checked.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Install.
Install. Okay. Yeah. All right. Any other person is having an issue? Okay. All right. If you've installed it, yeah. So, and again, let's get back to the PowerPoint in a minute. So if you see, you can install it in Windows. You can also install it in, if you have a Mac operating system. I have a a command line here that you can use to operate in a Mac operating system. You can also verify that you have Git is installed after installing it by running git -- version. So you can type Git, then -- version, and that will give you the version of Git. The version of Git that I have is 2.4.42.0. So you type Git -- version, it will give you the version name, right? Okay. The next thing that we want to do is this is still the setup of Git, right? So you're going to use this command, git config -- username, global username, user.name. Then you type in the username. You type in your username here, whatever username you want to use, right? And once you do that, the next thing that you're going to do, let me put this in the chat in case you want to use it right now. I need you to eat before you sleep. Okay. So this where you have the name, then you want your for example, that's my username. It's a real quick, right? So you type in your username like that, copy that, paste, and enter your username. When you're done, right, you can also use this as well. I'm typing my LLC gmail.com, right? You have to do these two things to set up your configuration. This is how you configure your Git to be able to use it. Okay. All right. So once you're done with that, Uche, are you done? Uche, are you done with the configuration? At least one person is doing it.
How do you paste on Git?
Oh, the same way that.
Is it Control P or Shift P?
Let me see. Hold on. If you just right click on it, it will give you the option to paste.
Okay.
Now your Git is set up. That's how you configure your Git. Okay. Now there are commands, basic commands that you have to know in Git, right? Now we're getting to the Git commands again. Now Git init is how you initialize once you have a file, right? You create a directory, you have a file. To initialize your file, you do Git init. So initialization of your repository. So once you do Git init, it will create a kind of a repository inside your local machine, right? So when you do Git, okay, I'm going to get it. Now you have Git add as well. Just know that Git init is for initialization. Git add, we're going to demonstrate all this. Git add is how you add your file, right? It's like you're saving a file to your laptop, right? Now you save a file. Git add, then the file name, right? Remember when we were doing Linux commands, I told you about dot. Whenever you have a dot means the current working directory. So we do git add dot, you're adding to your file to the current working directory. So you don't need to specify the file name. Right. So when you do dot, is the current working directory, right? Most of the time, because you're working in the same working directory, you don't need to use the file name. You're going to do git add dot. Okay. I'll do all that demonstration. So you have git commit. Now this is git commit. When you do git commit, this is, excuse me, please. When you do git commit, right, this means that you are moving your file to the staging area, which is the repository that you have in in your laptop. It's still your local laptop now. You're not pushing anything up, right? So Git status is how you check the status of your commit. If it's on track, if it's modified, or it's staged. If you do Git status, and we use Git status a lot because you need to do Git status to know if your file is committed or is added before you can do other things, right? Then git log is, like I said, everything that you do, every command that you do on your computer is being recorded somewhere. And those are log files. For Git has a log as well. As you are committing your files, it keeps logs, right? So if you want to check what is going on your Git, you can use git log, and git log would give you all that information. Right. Okay, so you can run all these commands. Now we're going to go ahead and run this command so you see exactly how it works, right? So I want you guys to follow me. Go ahead and do it with me. We're going to run a few of them. We're going to run the git init, right?
And oh yeah, I got it down. Thank you.
Okay, I got you're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to do the commit, right? Then there are other commands like git push, right? When you're pushing it to the GitHub, but we won't do that until we create a GitHub, right? I'm going to show you how to do that as well. We have to establish our GitHub command, but now it's all about Git. So let's talk about Git real quick. Let's do a hands-on before we continue.
I did just 1 minute. What's the difference between Git master and Git main?
Git master and Git main. Are you talking about the main? Okay, you have, okay. So you have, it's not called Git master, it's called master or main. Right?
Yep.
So they're the same thing.
Okay, okay.
These are branches. So you have either the master branch or the main branch.
So it doesn't matter which one.
So it used to be called the master branch. But because of the politicizing of whenever you say master, it means master and slave, right? Git changed that to main. So they want to call it main now, right? Instead of master. You know the politics between master and slave?
Sure. Okay.
So they change it to main. It's the same thing. You can still use master branch. You can still use
main branch.
If you go to main branch, if you go to GitHub, if you have a GitHub account, let me show you what I mean. If you go to GitHub, let me go back. So this is my GitHub account, right? So if let me bring up one of my repositories. So this is my Terraform series. This is my repository, right? Now I have the main branch here, right? This main branch can also be called the master branch, right? I can change this branch and call it, let me view all the branches. I think already it's main branch, but you can change it and call it the master branch, right? Once you first create it, it will ask you, when you first create they're going to ask you, do you want to call it main or master, right? But it comes as a main. It will give you an option. Do you want to change it to
master?
No
problem.
Yeah. So they're the same thing. Okay, so let's continue. I want us to do a little hands-on on the Git bash. So let me bring my Git bash. And where is it? Where did it go? That's GitHub. Before Git bash. So this is my Git bash, right? So in this Git bash, I can start using this Git bash right now. So for example, I can create a directory, make directory, right? You also remember how to create a directory. I call this directory run this directory, right? This directory has been created. So if I do ls now, I have a lot of directories here. One of the directories that'll be run this directory that I just created is somewhere here. So I can cd into that directory. Is it too small? Let me enlarge it a little bit so you can see, right? So I can enlarge into that directory. Now I am in this directory right now, right? In this directory, I can create my file, right? I can create a file. So for example, I want to create a file, vi, call it Windows file .txt, right? That's my file. And I can go ahead, it's the same command, how to create a file, and you create create some documents from your file. So this is a DevOps class, right? Glad we all be successful. Okay. All right. So this file has been created now, but it's not Git. It doesn't have anything. It's created in Git Bash, but until I initialize this file, it's not going to create that repository, the staging repository in my local file. So how do I do that? I have to initialize this directory. So I can go ahead and say git init, right? Git init now, it has initialized my directory now. It has recognized this as a Git. You see what it does? It creates a masking, right? I'm on the master branch right now because I've created I've initialized the directory. So it gives me a master branch. So I'm now in the master branch. In this master branch, the file that I created, right? The file that I created is still there, but the file is not committed to anything. So I can do git add dot, right? Now, this file has now been added. Right. Now, if I want to move this file to the staging area of my local repository, I can use the git commit command. Honey, please now. Excuse me, honey. Until you get up, because it's, knitting. So if you want to commit this file to your local repository, use a git commit.
I just sorry to butt in. When you create that text file, how do you get out of there again?
How I did what?
To come out of I mean, after you've created that, this is
it's easy.
Yeah. So what's that again?
You click the escape and then you click Shift ZZ to save and come out.
Oh, when I created the file, yeah.
Yeah.
You can do Shift ZZ, or you can do colon
WQ.
WQ. Is that WQ?
The WQ exclamation point.
Yeah, exclamation.
Yeah.
Okay, did you get it else?
No, hold on.
Okay, let me put the command on the chat for you, okay?
Yeah, let me just see it.
You can do Shift key, combine the Shift key. The faster way to combine Shift key, hold the Shift key and do ZZ. Or you can do colon. What is it? Colon. If you want to escape without saving, is colon Q exclamation sign. You want to save it is colon WQ.
Yeah.
Is that what is it? Oh, my file, I call it Rondo's file. Is that the file name? All right, this is the file that we created, right? So we created this file. I can do an git I to insert Then I can add more information. Yes, I'm a DevOps engineer. Right? I can add additional information now. I can add it again. Git add. Right? Space dot. Dot means I'm on the current working directory. I'm adding this file now. So I've added it. Now, how do I commit this file to my local repository? I can use git commit, right? With the git commit, it has to come with a message. So if I do -m, then I can put the message and say my first commit. It always has to come with, I'll go through this with you. My first commit. Then I close the quote. Then I enter. So you can see one file has been changed, right? So now I've committed this file. It's now in my local repository, right? Now, let me take that back. Let me demonstrate that step again. I created a directory, right? Let me clear this off. I created a directory. Let me create another directory, right? I do make dir. That's the command to create a directory, right? And the directory I want to create is, let me see if it will let me create another directory. Let me do run this directory 2. Right, so I've created a new directory now. But I'm still, you can see that I'm still in the first directory. It doesn't switch to the new directory, right? Because I'm kind of creating a branch. Let me see if it would let me switch real quick because I'm still inside this directory. Run this. It wouldn't let me because I need to create a branch. I'm already here. So the only thing I can do is create a branch, create a new branch. I can call this branch, I run this. But we'll get into all that to creating a branch. I can switch into this branch. Git switch to run this. Right. So I'm switching to the new branch. So you see, I'm switching to this branch right now. That's me switching to another branch. And I can do something. I can create a file here, a new file. So let's create this file now, vi. Call this file my second file.txt. I'm creating a new file now. I hit F to reset. Then I can do some commands. I write some more information. This is my code. I'll write a code in Python language, right? Then I escape. Now I can do git add now dot, meaning I'm adding this to my current working directory. I'm adding, just adding. I mean, this is like me saving a file. When I do git add, hit enter. That is added. Then I can do, for me to commit it to my local repository, I have to do the git commit. Git commit, I do a -m to create a message. My second commit, right? I close that. Then I enter. So this has been committed now into my repository. Now I have 2 branches now that I just created. If I do git branch, right? Git branch will show me the 2 branches that I have. One branch is the master branch, right? And the second branch is my rodos, right? Because I created this new branch. And it will show you with a star, it will show you which branch I am. We're not even close to creating a branch yet. I'm moving ahead to show you how to do a branch. I was not supposed to show you this yet, but I'm moving ahead of us. So let's go back to the lesson. This is just a preamble. Now you know how to add, right? You know how to create a directory. You know how to add a file, right, to your laptop. You know how to move that file to your local repository in your laptop, right? Are you guys able to follow me? Are you able to follow what I just demonstrated? I can also, if you do not follow it, let me demonstrate it. Yeah, I think I have it perfect. We can look at it through this lens. Videos. Okay, this is another introduction of, where to start. Where do we start? Do we have the GUI? Because Git also has the graphic user interface, which is the GUI. It has one that's really popular is Git Kraken. There's one actually have GitHub desktop. Then you have the tower that would do the same thing. It's a graphic user interface, which the Git add, Git commit that we're doing right now, you can just click a button on your user interface and we'll do that for you. But this is talking about the pros and cons of using a GUI and using command line interface. So this is the pro, right, for using a GUI. Way lower barrier of entry for beginners. So you don't need to learn the command line, right? Friendlier to use because it's like Windows, you just click a button. Some people prefer the visual experience, even those who can use the command line, right? So you can use that because some people prefer that. People that are not tech savvy, right, prefer to use the graphic user interface. The disadvantage is at times there's a lot of magic involved. The inner working of the Git are obfuscated, right, and are hidden away from the GUI. It often leads to dependence on a particular piece of software. So you have to, without the software, you cannot do anything. When things go seriously wrong, it can be very challenging to fix it because you don't know what's going on underneath, right? If you're using a GUI, if you run into problems, it's difficult to solve it. The interfaces, buttons, and menus vary between the different GUI interfaces, right? So that's the disadvantage. Now let's look at the advantages of using a command line. Git is a command line tool. All the documentation and resources online will refer to the command line. So you can always have that reference if you need something to be done. The command line can be way faster once you get comfortable with it. It creates things really fast. You see the way I added a file, the way I committed the file, it's more faster. Some of the more advanced Git features are only available in the command line. Right? The commands are always the same, no matter what machine you use. And the disadvantage is that it's not beginners friendly. If you're not used to, like I took it through Linux, if you don't have that knowledge or skills, you won't be able to, you'll find it very difficult to use a command line because it's not friendly to you. Even some practice users, the command line interface is just not a good experience, right? Okay, so that's the disadvantage. So between GUI and using the command line, DevOps engineers will always use the command line because everything is command line. And that's how you get control of the system of what you're doing. Okay. So this is installing GUI. We've done that. This is the same thing that we have in the PowerPoint, the configuration of GUI, and we've just completed that. It's time to learn the basic, just basic. This is going to explain what I just showed you on the command line, the adding and the commit command that I just showed you, right? Conceptual overview. So this is a repository. A Git repo is a workspace which tracks and manages files. That's a repository. So like I explained from the beginning, you create a file, you keep committing, and it does all this for you. And you see when I created a branch, this is exactly the branch that I created. And after you create this branch, you can actually merge the branch at a point, right? So this is you creating these files. This is just folders that you're creating. Now, from this point, all these folders that you have in your system, you have a folder here. And in this folder, you create, once you create Git init, now it recognizes this file as a Git file, right? So amongst all the files that you have in the system, this only file is the file that is recognized once you run Git init, right? Once you run that Git init, you can do Git init, you can create a different folder, and that different folder will also have a Git init in it. And this is me. So all these files have been initiated. So they are now Git init. And these are probably all the folders, all the directories that you've created, right? Because you want to start a project. Portfolio website, startup idea, my first movie script, symphony, Reddit, clone app. These are all the directories you've created. And they all have Git, right? So once you have that, you can commit your files, right? This is a guy proposing to a lady. That's what commit is. You hand over your life to someone, right? So this is maybe not a great representation, but it is trying to explain what commit is. You're committed to this relationship, right? That's exactly what you do when you run a commit. So starting to develop, this is a simulation as well. Starting to develop a program, you create your first initialization project, which is a Git init, right? And you have this checkpoint, right, where you do Git app, right? So as you write your code, you're adding, right? You're adding your code. Once you add a code, you add the first code, you add the first, second, add the navigation code, add the first row, then you create a commit. Once you create a commit, right, this commit is committed to your stage. You see it highlighted that you've created a commit. Now, making a commit is similar to making a save in a video game. We are taking a snapshot of a repository. What it does is it takes a snapshot of that repository at that time. It's just a snapshot. When saving a file, we are saving the state of the single file. We can save the state of a multiple files and folders. So what you're doing when you do a commit is a snapshot of that time. What you just do is what is saving. For example, if you're doing a commit here, it's taking a snapshot of all the things that you've done at this stage. Okay, that's what committing is. So this is example. You have all these things that you do. These are different directories that these are different files that you created, and you can do a commit, which is the same thing as saving, right? So this is the basic workflow. Work on the stuff, add the changes, and commit. Exactly what I showed you, what I was doing. You can delete. After you delete, you add and you commit. Even if you modify a file, you do an add and you commit. That's a basic workflow. What we just did, we created a file, we did a Git add, then we did a Git commit. That's the basic workflow. Okay. So the first command in Git is always Git status. Git status is just to check the status. It will show you the status of where you are. For example, you have modified. So here I can do Git status. You use Git status a lot because it tells information. If your file has been committed, right? If not committed, right? It's going to tell you that information. There's a situation when you want to, especially when you want to merge a file. When you have two branches and you want to merge a file, you want to do Git status first to see if you're inside a branch, or if you have a lot of people collaborating, writing a program, right? Someone may have committed to that branch. Once it's committed to that branch, there's what is called pointer or head. The head or the pointer will move. When you do a Git commit, when someone else has committed and the head has moved, it's going to cause some kind of conflict, which you have to go in and evaluate. So doing a Git status before doing a Git merge, we'll get into Git merge, or just checking the status of your commit. It's very important. So before you even do a commit, always try to do Git status, right? To check the status if you have a working file that has not committed, or you have anything that is waiting in line. Okay. So Git status would, if you create a new one, it would tell you that there's nothing in there, because this demonstration was just to show that until you do a Git, okay, if you do a Git status without doing a Git init, it will give you this file not a Git repository. So every other every other directory like this one's, right? If you don't do a Git init to initialize this folder, it will tell you it's not a Git repository, right? But once you do a Git init, it creates that repository for you in your local folder. So that's what it's trying to demonstrate here. You do a Git init on Git status on a non-Git repository file or folder is going to give you a fatal error. Okay, so you do Git init, then Git tracks a directory and all the nested sub directories. These are the sub directories, right? Do not init a repo inside a repo. So if you already have initialized a repository, don't re-init, don't do Git init again. Right, like the ones that we created, we already initialize it. Don't go in and re-initialize it again. Right, it's showing us a warning. Don't do that. If you do end up making a repo inside a repo, you can delete it and try it again. To delete a repo, locate the associated .git directory and delete it. Go and find that .git directory and go ahead and you can delete that. So now what? So Git watches everything that you do, right? It can track a file. It can track as you modify the file. It keeps watch. It's watching everything. So try making a new file in your repository and then run Git status again. If we do that, we already did that. If we do that again, then you can commit. When you commit, making a commit is similar to making a save in the video. We are taking a snapshot. So that's what it does. We already look at this screen. So it's like taking a snapshot. So these are the things that you can do, right? You can delete, for example, if you already created this tm.html, you can delete it. Once you delete it, you can modify your other file, which is the about file. You can modify it. You can create a new nav file, right? Which is end with HTML, with a CSS, with a JS. I know you guys probably don't know what all this is. So when you're creating a website, right? Your website, maybe an HTML website. All of us should know this. You can use the CSS. What is it called? This is a JavaScript. The CSS is used to modify the file, your website file, put style to it. You can style your file, right? Then a JavaScript is the script that you use to create control, right? I think I have one that I can show you. Then you can create a logo. This is a typical example. Let me bring up and this is it. All right, so this is my HTML. This is a code, right? So this code can as well be used if I'm running. I can run Git here. You see in your VS Code, you can run Git here. This is a Git command, right? You can run this right here as well. And this is my CSS file. This is a CSS file that you use to style your website. All the colors you see on the background of the website, you use the CSS file to style it, right? Then you can use the JavaScript file to control the event, what is going on. If you want to put a button and all that, you can write this. You can actually put a button, put space bars, put a navigation bar using a JavaScript command. So these are the three things that you need to run. And if you want to put a logo, now you can put a logo inside your HTML file. You can put a logo here, which could be a picture or anything else, right? You can do all that. And this is how you create a website. And my HTML, let me see if I can open this. I think I can open this directly from here.
What?
Let's see, reveal this in file. Okay. So I'm revealing it now in my Explorer. In this Explorer, then I can open this and it opens the website for me, right? So this is the website I just created. I can click this button. This button, I use JavaScript to create it, right? And I can click this button, right? And it gives me this information. So this is the website that I created. All this comes from the JavaScript, this JavaScript that I created, is this VS Code, these codes on VS Code, the HTML, the CSS file, and all that. So that's what is demonstrated here, right? When if we go back, so that's what is demonstrated here, right? That's what this guy is doing when he's trying to modify this file. So that's what you're doing. That's what a developer is doing on the side, right? Creating a software. That's the demonstration here. When you're creating a navbar, you're creating using HTML, using CSS and JavaScript, and adding a logo. That's a typical example of what's going on here. So in this is going through a simulation. You add a brand, you add branded color, you do that and do that. Once you do that, you go through this workflow, you add your changes, you can modify it, then you can use the command, git command, to git commit to commit the file. And this is exactly the explanation. What I did when you saw what I was doing, I created a directory, right? In that directory, I can also create a file. Then I do a git add. Then when I did a git add, it creates this staging area for me, right? My file will be staged in the staging area. Then when I did a git commit, I committed to the local repository in my laptop. I think I have a diagram here that I want to show you. So that is exactly what this is. This is only within your local repository. This doesn't go into your GitHub here, right? So this is the git add that we did. Git add makes it stays in your working directory. Now, when you do a git commit, right? So you can add all these files and it stays in your local repository. When you add it, it stays in your, now you're working on your working directory. When you do a git add, it adds it to your staging area. Now, when you do a git commit, right, you commit it to your repository. Everything will be committed to your repository. Right, let me see if it shows here when you do a git commit. Right, when you do a git add, it adds to your staging area. When you do a git commit, it moves to your repository. Okay, so that's just the demonstration of git add and git commit. So you can add more than one file at once. You can do git add one file, the second file, right? If you have two files going on simultaneously, you can add more than one file, right? Using a git add. And so if you have multiple files, if you just do git add dot, which is your working current working directory, is going to add all the files. You don't need to name them one by one, right? It's going to add all the files that you've committed. You're going to move all the files to your local staging directory. And once you do, so this simulation keeps repeating. Once you do a git commit, then the file would move then to your repository. And remember, when you're doing a git commit, you do a -m like I showed you, and you write a message. So the message is the message that tells you exactly what you did, what the file is all about. Right? So if anyone sees your commit, the person should know exactly what you do at a particular time when you're committing this file. So that is important. Let me go to the next section real quick. So the next section talks a little bit about the commit statement that you have to make. Let's go to section 5. So section 5 here talks about your commit. Okay, more about committing. Okay, so you have the commit. This is -m flag, allows you to pass inline commit message. So that's a message, right? So the question is, how do you write a commit statement, right? A commit statement, some people say you can write it on the past, you can write it as a present tense, but I think the convention is you write it as a present tense. Like you added a code, and what's the code? The code is you add color to the website. So you just write add color, right? You don't write I added color to, just go straight to the point. Add red color to the website, add blue color to the website. That's how you write your commit statement. That's the convention, but it's just a convention, right? Nobody really cares as long as you stay consistent. If you want to use a past tense, if you want to use a woody, you stay consistent. So anyone that looks at your commit statement would understand what you mean. You can't be mixing one way one time you're using past tense, the next time you're using present tense, and you mix it up, right? Stay consistent. I think that's the advice. But the convention is you always use the past active tenses to write your commit statement. Okay. This is the commit statement that you can amend your commit statements as well. If you do git commit dash amend, then it will prompt you to enter a new statement if you had made any error in writing your commit statement. So these are some basic guidelines on writing the commit statement. These are the documentation, exactly what I told you about, present or past tense. Does it really matters, right? You do not have to follow this pattern. You don't have to follow it, the convention. You can write it as long as you are consistent. So that's what this is all about. And let me talk about this ignoring files, git ignore. Git ignore, there are some files, like the secret files, that you don't want anyone to see when you're committing like you have your password, have tokens, you have credentials, API keys. That's some files you don't want any other person to see. Those are your secret. Now, when you're committing, you can create a git ignore file in your Git, and you list all the files, all those files in there. For example, .ds, all the secret files are always start with a dot, right? .ds to all, .log, and so on and so forth. If you want inside a folder, you can also put a folder name, and the folder will be inside the git ignore. Once you put that, once you commit any file, and it is this file, right, it's not going to be committed. It's going to keep it in the git ignore file folder. It's not going to be moved to the staging file, so that when you push it to GitHub, it's not going to be pushed to GitHub. It will stay local in your system. No one else will have access to it except you, as long as you create the git ignore file and list all those files. So that's about git ignore. Okay. So let's stop here and take some questions. Let me get your understanding about Git. If there's anything that you do not understand, let me know. We may need to repeat all this again tomorrow before we move to the next thing that we need to do. Is there any question that I can answer? We've done the installation. We've run some commands, of course, the basic commands, git init, git commit, git status, and we did not do git log. I don't think we'll find anything in the log file log. Okay, so I found something. See, right. It gives me my second commit, right? This is remember the statement I wrote, the message that I wrote when I did the commit. It shows me, right, when I did this commit, and it shows me when I did my first commit. It gives me the time stamp when I did this commit as well. So it gives me that statement, right? So you can check your log. The log would give you, so this is the identity of my commit. You see, this is the head. We'll talk about head tomorrow. This is the head, right? And my head is pointing to my windows, right? And these are committed to the master branch directly, right? This first one I committed to the master branch. This is the one that I created a new branch, and now the head is pointing to my new branch, right? So